Dad was clearly, I could tell, looking at him, he was nervous. Should he be meeting up with this neighbour? And I said, right, let's make this really simple. Let's go into lockdown. Hey, Mum and Dad, how are you?
Hello, Daddy boy.
Good. That's about 2 metres.
It's very nice to see you. I'm sorry, I feel like under other circumstances I'd give you a hug or a handshake at least.
You look all right to me.
This is
They're
good.
all fine.
How long has it been?
Well, we rather enjoy life, so we jumped the gun, and we've started self-isolating about a week ahead of time. So here we are. We're enjoying it, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, how's it going, Mum?
It's good. That's good. Surprisingly.
Mixed reviews.
No, it's very good. I mean, my big thing is we're being very positive, at least I am. And I'm saying, this is it.
Me too.
We're awake today. We're alive. It's spring. There are flowers coming out in the garden. We can come and do gardening in a minute. We're reading a lot. We're chatting a lot. Dan and his children do FaceTime with us. So that's really important.
It's true you're being positive, but you are 8 years younger than I am.
Well.
So I'm being very positive, but I do bear in mind that I'm more likely for the high jump than she is.
I guess one of the things we're all saying about this virus is that it probably isn't going to go away. It will keep circulating. Eventually, you're going to go out into the world,
yes,
and it will still be there.
A week ago, I was tossing a coin, and got very cross to me, thinking, I mean, quite honestly, let's just catch this damn thing. Let's go out and sort of say, come on, virus, come and get me. Because there's obviously a very great temptation to have it and then to be one of the recovered people, and hopefully immune after that. I don't know about the immunity, but there we are. But then the trouble is that my doctor, on that same day, said, look, old chap, don't get infected. It's not really worth your while.
If I caught it and then gave it to Peter, I would never forgive myself.
I still wake up in the morning thinking, hang on, 4 months ahead, going to be dodgy. A lot of people will be immune because they'll have had it. We won't have. We're just not crossing that bridge till we get to it.
You're right to approach it with this kind of spirit, I think. You don't need my endorsement, but it does seem right. Whatever. We haven't got a goodbye so well. I guess a wave. We've always got a wave. It's not. We don't have to reinvent the wave.
A virtual hug.
Exactly.
See you later on, guys.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Close the door.
How worried are you feeling?
I'm very worried.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a doctor, so I'm just reading crazy Facebook posts all day, you know. But I'm worried. I'm worried about my mum and dad. I'm worried about my family. And then I'm worried about the community. I'm worried about the country. And the strange thing is me standing in this garden where I grew up, I played on this lawn, and now I'm here putting my parents into isolation. You know, my dad, when I came to this house, my dad kept saying thanks, you know, and I brought some pasta around and I thought, what are you saying thank you to me for, you know?
It's difficult, isn't it? You think a lot about...
He kept me alive for 18 years. So I'm going to get him through the next 6 months. It's my job.
With millions of us facing a period of self-isolation, many of us are worried about food. Nutritional psychologist Kimberly Wilson is on her way to a local shop to see what's still available.
I think with the prospect of self-isolation, people are really thinking about making sure that they have enough food in for 7 or perhaps 14 days of being inside the house. And what's going to be really important is making sure not only that there's enough food, but making sure that there's nutritious food in the house, because the last thing we want is people to become unwell or malnourished while they're self-isolating. But we need to stay calm, focus on what we do need, and remember that other people will need food as well, and that we also have a bit of a responsibility to our community to ensure that there's enough on the shelves for everyone else. Let's see what we've got. All right, so I'll grab some tomato puree. In a pinch, this can be used as a base to your tomato sauce. You can just dilute down a tablespoon or 2. So looking for versatile ingredients that you can use in lots of different ways is going to be really important. The canned fish is a great option, really rich in omega-3s, which are really important for your brain health, but also, again, really versatile. You can have it as a snack, add it to sauces, blend it up into a pate, all sorts of things. A curry paste. Who doesn't love a curry? Stock cubes. Cheese. Lasts a long time if it's sealed, but can also be frozen. Maybe some peanut butter. Not just for toast, but actually it can make the base of sauces too. Onions, I think, are an absolute essential. They are a staple. They will last forever and ever and ever. in a cool, dry place.
Hello.
Hi there. Is there any flour? Are you all sold out on that?
Unfortunately, we ran out of that. Yeah, all gone.
Really?
We expected a delivery today, but we didn't receive that.
Gosh.
Yeah. People are, panicking. They buy whatever they seen on the shelf.
Just pulling things off the shelves?
Mostly the flours, rice, pastas, and this kind of things they did buy a lot, actually. 100 people been waiting on the queue, so...
You've had queues?
We had a big queue last 3, 4, 5 days. Yeah.
Gosh. So actually, this is a quiet day now?
This is the quiet day. Quietest day since the beginning. Yeah. I'm not worrying. We'll be all right.
All right.
Thank you.
I'm off. Take care. Stay
You too as well. Thank you. Have a lovely day. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
I have managed to get the basics that I wanted. So some beans and pulses, some rice, some canned fish, some canned tomatoes, some spices. And that really should be good for the store cupboard to get me through. And I can stock up with little bits on the way if I need to.
Just a reminder that New Zealand is currently on alert level 4, meaning everyone must stay at home. Essential work and supermarket trips are permitted, but people must stay at least 2 metres apart. For more information, just head to covid19.govt.nz. Coming up, how to keep your house as clean as possible in the COVID-19 outbreak.
When crime pays.
Give me all your money, bookworm, or I blow your brains out.
And the cops can't cope.
Now fill it up on number 7.
Only one thing will save us.
RoboCop, the future of law enforcement.
Your move, creep. Come quietly or there will be trouble.
The classic sci-fi trilogy.
This guy's really good.
Not a guy, he's a machine.
Over 3 adrenaline-packed weeks.
You're gonna be a bad one.
The RoboCop trilogy starts Saturday at 9 on 3.
Do you remember the first time you saw a dinosaur? First time you see them, it's like a miracle.
Run! Save the dinosaurs from an island that's about to explode. What could go wrong?
Holy!
For the first time on 3.
What is that thing?
Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom, Sunday on 3.
So one of the difficult things for people who are self-isolating, or the people around them, is that you get paranoid that you've got this source of infection in your house and you can get obsessed with cleaning. Well, it is good to keep things clean, but remember, you're not trying to cover your house in toxic chemicals and kill the virus completely. We can't stop the virus. We're trying to slow it down. So you can do it pretty simply. For most of the house, people should be doing things like touching light switches with their elbows, if they need to touch them at all. You know, toasters, kettles. Do you need to touch them if you're self-isolating? Someone else can make you a cup of tea. But in a shared space like this bathroom, you know, most people are going to have to share a bathroom. You might spend a lot of time in here, and if you're symptomatic, you're going to be coughing on everything. How do you keep it clean? Well, actually, it's not very different to normal cleaning, okay? The most important thing is mechanical removal, by which I mean just wiping surfaces. So I've got a normal all-purpose cleaner. It doesn't have to kill 1000% of all known germs, okay? And the main thing is a wet cloth, a bit of a spray, and give it a wipe, okay? And surfaces that you might have touched or coughed on, you just want to get those droplets off, get a bit of cleaner on them, wash the cloth, hang it out to dry, and that's all you're trying to do. We don't have to feel guilty about this, and we don't have to feel paranoid about it.
It's been a bit of a whirlwind in terms of new news coming out every day.
It's definitely been quite mentally challenging.
I do feel that worry of what if I got it.
I'm pretty scared. A lot.
How about you, Tommy?
I'm fine.
I want to find out more about the scientific research which is helping shape the government's response to the pandemic. I'm meeting Adam Kucharski, one of the experts at the forefront of the fight against the virus.
This is about as close as we're getting. Is that, there we go, yeah. Like an air elbow bump. Well, look, come on. I'm very excited to talk to you, actually. I think this bench is sort of wide enough. We're outdoors. I think this is, aren't we?
Yeah.
So, look, tell me a bit. You are epidemiologist, modeller of epidemics. You work at the London School of Tropical Medicine, which is one of the places that's sending information and advice to the government. You've written books about how epidemic spread. What does your life look like at the moment?
At the moment, we're doing a lot of work to try and understand as much as we can about how this thing transmits and what we can do to control it. Early on, sort of a couple of months ago, we were trying to look at where's the spread, kind of what's important. As you know, in China, these lockdowns came in. What effect is that having? How much is that reducing transmission? And now we're looking a lot more at, you know, these different kinds of interactions, different interventions. What might actually work at bringing this transmission down?
But you're not just pulling things out of the air, are you? You're actually building computer models, simulations almost of the virus. Is that right?
Yeah, we're doing a whole mix of stuff. So it's not just you've got one model here. You know, we've looked at, you know, for example, these lockdowns, you know, what's the reduction on average? How many people are spreading it at the start and at the end? We've looked at things like close gatherings, you know, how much transmission? If 10 people attend a meal, what's the risk to people who go to that? So it's really all these bits of evidence and then trying to bring them together to try and work out what the most effective ways of controlling this are. And we'll say, you know, if you close schools for 2 months, this is what this will probably look like. If you get the elderly and risk groups to isolate for 12 weeks, this is what the outbreak will look like. And then it really feeds up the chain into government, and then they have to make those decisions of what combination of measures do we think is appropriate.
At the moment, we seem to be doing different things to other countries. We haven't locked down the way China did early on. We haven't closed borders like Germany. Are we doing the right thing?
Countries at the moment that are saying that they're going to close things down for a couple of weeks, that's not what's going to happen, because once those interventions go in, it's going to be very tough to lift them without the risk of another outbreak. I think really that's the balance that the UK and other countries will have to strike of we need to reduce transmission, but equally, you know, people need some kind of ability to live their lives in the meantime.
Is the point of self-isolation to reverse this? Can we stop the epidemic?
I think the real point of self-isolation is it can have an enormous effect on reduction in transmission. It won't control it by itself, but that action, if you think of it, is a disruption of a couple of weeks of your life. But that could potentially reduce transmission by 20–30%.
My minimal experience of working in epidemics is the one thing about them is that they do end. There is light at the end of the tunnel. Am I right about that? Have you got any optimism about this?
We've got a really, really difficult situation we find ourselves in because usually, you know, an epidemic that's mild, eventually people might build herd immunity if it spreads long enough. That's how epidemics end if enough people end up infected. But to get to that position, so many people would be ill and it would take so long and there'd be so much burden on the NHS, it's unlikely we'll see that anytime soon. So I think we really, until we get a vaccine or better treatment or much more effective testing, we're stuck in this situation where we're going to have to make really dramatic changes to our lives. Anyone suggesting that there's something easy or a 2-week lockdown and then we can get back to life is really not what's going to happen. That whatever we do, we're potentially going to have to face for a year or two.
Talking to Adam, I get a very strong sense that anyone